Today, we're going to dig into some of our most common ideas about what things like strength and humor and even being polite really mean. We're going to explore those everyday behaviors that we might admire or just not even notice, but that can actually be silent cries for help. Wow. This quote, it just gets right to the heart of what we're talking about, doesn't it? It's this powerful reminder that the biggest struggles are so often hidden behind the most ordinary actions, the things we see every single day and just don't think twice about.
So, this is really the big question for us today, isn't it? Are we really listening? Do we know how to see past the surface and truly understand what someone might be trying to tell us without saying a single word? Well, let's find out.
Okay, let's start with the masks that are maybe the easiest to fall for. The ones that look like strength or ambition or just a fantastic sense of humor. These are the behaviors we tend to praise, but they can be hiding a completely different story underneath.
We all know this person, right? The one who's the rock for everyone, the person you can always count on. They just seem to hold everything together. But what's so fascinating here is the contrast. That incredible strength can actually be a sign of something called smiling depression, where a person becomes an expert at looking happy to the outside world while they're actually falling apart inside.
And here's the thing, this isn't just a personality trait. So often, it's a carefully built coping mechanism. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, this person might be putting on that brave face, but behind the scenes, they're pulling away. They're feeling completely drained, and often, they just don't know how to ask for the help they so desperately need. All right, let's talk about perfectionism. On the surface, it looks like a total recipe for success. They're ambitious, they have high standards, they're always in control. But what this reveals is the storm that's often raging just beneath that perfect exterior. It's a world that's driven by this deep, constant anxiety and just a paralyzing fear of failing. And this just nails it, doesn't it? It's not really about being great. It's about trying to control a world that feels completely out of control and scary. This relentless pressure is a one-way ticket to burnout, but it's disguised as ambition. I mean, how many of us have made that mistake? Now, what about the class clown, the life of the party? We love that person. But here's the twist. When humor is the only thing you see, especially when they're joking about their own pain, it stops being a way to connect and starts becoming a defensive wall. This actually has a name. It's a well-known concept in psychology, the sad clown paradox. It's a tool, a way to deflect and keep people at a safe distance so you don't have to be vulnerable. So the next time you hear someone joking about how much they're struggling, just remember that laughter might be covering up a world of pain. Okay, so we've looked at the masks we admire. Now let's pivot to the ones we tend to misunderstand, the behaviors that we might just write off as annoying quirks or character flaws when they could be signaling something so much deeper. I think we've all met someone who apologizes for absolutely everything, right? Even for just existing. And we might think, oh, they're just being really polite. But this can actually be a direct result of past trauma or a really deep-seated feeling of low self-worth or the kind of overwhelming guilt that's often linked with mental health struggles. So the key here is to listen for what's hiding underneath that "I'm sorry." A lot of the time, it's not really about politeness at all. It's fear. It's a constant fear of being a burden, of messing up, of upsetting someone. It often comes from a past where they were made to feel like they were just too much. Now, this one is so important, and it might actually surprise you. When we see someone get angry or just snap, we think, oh, they're in a bad mood. But what if I told you that for a lot of people, especially for men and teenagers, depression doesn't look like sadness at all? It looks like anger. It's emotional pain that literally has nowhere else to go. And look, this isn't just some minor symptom we can brush aside. When irritability is a main feature of depression, it is clinically linked to much more severe outcomes. Just look at this chart. You see a clear connection to more severe depression, higher levels of anxiety, and even, alarmingly, a higher risk for suicidal thoughts. It's a huge red flag that we absolutely cannot afford to ignore. So, what about that friend who's always canceling plans? It's so easy to label them as flaky or antisocial, but let's try to see it from their side for a second. This is often way more than just introversion. It's a defense mechanism. They're not pulling away because they don't care about you. They're pulling away because the world feels overwhelming, and they're fighting battles inside that they just don't have the words to explain. So we've talked about the masks people wear on the outside, but what's actually going on inside their heads? For this last part, let's dive into the cognitive signs, the internal patterns that show us a mind is under a tremendous amount of strain. I want you to think about someone you know who used to be so passionate about their hobbies, who loved their favorite foods, who couldn't wait to hang out with friends. And then they just stopped caring about any of it. It's so easy to misjudge this as laziness or boredom, but it's actually one of the absolute core symptoms of clinical depression.
There's a clinical name for this. It's called anhedonia. And as the Mayo Clinic confirms, it's the brain's actual physical struggle to feel pleasure. It's not that they don't want to enjoy life, it's that they literally can't. It's like their whole world has gone from vibrant color to black and white, and they can't find the switch to turn the color back on.
Have you ever just stared at a menu in a restaurant and been completely unable to make a choice? Now imagine that exact feeling, but for every single tiny decision all day long. Choosing what to have for dinner shouldn't feel monumental, but for someone whose mind is already overloaded, whose resources are totally depleted, even the smallest choices can feel completely paralyzing. That's decision fatigue. And this cycle here, it shows you exactly how that spiral happens. The mind is so busy fighting all these internal battles that its cognitive resources, its mental energy, is just completely gone. There is literally nothing left in the tank for simple, everyday choices. It's a state of pure mental exhaustion. This is way more than just being a pessimist. Catastrophic thinking is what's known as a cognitive distortion, where the brain automatically leaps to the absolute worst-case scenario in any situation. It's not that they want to think this way, it's that their brain is trying to protect them. It's often linked to anxiety or even PTSD. It's a brain that's been hurt before and is now stuck in survival mode, constantly scanning for the next threat. So, as we bring this all together, here's the most important thing to remember. The perfectionism, the constant apologies, the short fuse, the canceled plans, these aren't just random isolated flaws. They are all signals. They're part of a silent language from a mind that is just struggling to keep its head above water.
So what's the bottom line here? Look, this isn't about trying to diagnose your friends or family. It's about leading with compassion. It's about learning to look past the behavior to see the person who might be hurting underneath. It's about remembering that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It is one of the most profoundly human things we can do. And that really leaves us with one final thought. As you go about your day-to-day, think about it. Who in your life might be sending out some of these silent signals? And don't forget to ask yourself that same question. Because sometimes the person who needs your compassion the most might be you.